All right, so let's pivot a little bit to some of the things you're currently involved with related to materials, coverings, balloons. I mean, just tell us some of the areas you're currently working with.
Sure. As I mentioned, I discovered a really quite a nice material. When I first found it, it was being marketed under the trade name of Solupor. It was manufactured back then by a company called DSM. Now it's actually manufactured by another company. But it has characteristics very similar to ePTFE, except for it's much less ductile. So in that regard, it's actually quite a bit easier to process. It has a much lower melting point, which is also a very handy feature. And the lack of ductility translates to much higher strength. So this stuff is really, really thin. It's micro-porous, just like ePTFE is, and and predictably strong, which is kind of nice when you're trying to design with it. So I started figuring out ways to laminate the material without significantly changing its properties, and then figuring out ways to incorporate other structures within the laminate. So, for example, you could put a stent in there. You could put braided structures. You could do all kinds of composites, if you will, with just the very, very thin polyethylene membrane, and then something that would offer a little bit more support. In addition to that, I started figuring out ways, this is going back to the same strategies that we came up with while I was working at Gore, but figuring out ways to manipulate microstructure so that you can get the material to stretch in one direction to a certain point. And then once it hits that point, the material starts resisting any applied forces. Figuring out ways to tweak compliance, if you will. So that's been kind of the backbone of Sentient's business. I guess you'd call it the core competency.
Yep.
And that's been applied to covering stents, whether they're self-deploying or whether they're balloon expandable, and also to making certain types of covering for balloons, and really just taking those basic notions and just applying them to very, very specific uses within the body.